Are you responsible to tear down the unpermitted addition to the home that you just purchased in LA County? Welcome to Everything LA Real Estate, where we dive into ins and outs of real estate. I'm your host, Mike Babakanian, and today we're going to be discussing an important topic. If you're considering purchasing a property in Los Angeles County, unpermitted additions and what you should know about. Now, some of you may be wondering, what is an unpermitted addition? To make things simple, basically it's any part of the home that was constructed without permits. A city inspector did not verify things. They don't know if everything was done by city code and by workmanlike manner. So these are issues that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars, and at times it will cost you some legal fees as well. First, let's talk about awareness. Now, at times, some home sellers may not even know their home has unpermitted additions because they have purchased their home 30, 40, 50 years ago. On the flip side, there are some savvy, slick sellers out there who are gonna try to get away with unpermitted additions. So the point is, you as a buyer, you have to do your due diligence, be protected, be aware if your home has any unpermitted additions. For example, in LA County, it's very common at times to see converted garages into living space without permits. Now, even though the new laws have changed with ADUs, there has been a lot of homeowners who've converted their garage years ago without permits. So that's an issue. Yes, it's a great way to add value for income purposes, but at the end of the day, if it's not permitted, when you're getting a loan from the bank, guess what? The appraiser is gonna ding you for that, because the appraiser is gonna give you value only off of the permitted square footage of the property. I've seen converted garages, I've seen enclosed patios that were added to part of the living square footage of the living area. I've seen multiple additions, bathroom additions, bedroom additions without permits throughout the year. So these are stuff that you should be aware about. Well, you might be questioning, where could I find out if a property has permits or not? It's a fantastic website where you could check statuses of permits. You could actually pull records of permits. So I highly recommend it, ladbs.org. So what happens if you buy a property with unpermitted additions? Well, first off, if you're already in escrow, definitely do your due diligence to make sure if everything is with permits or without permits. Some cities at times have a pre-inspection before the close of escrow. For example, City of Pasadena. You cannot close escrow until a city inspector comes out and verifies the entire property to make sure if there's any unpermitted additions. Now, what happens is the city inspector will call it out. Now, if you want that escrow to close, guess what? Either the seller is going to have to address those issues, or if not, they could put it on the buyer, and the buyer is going to be responsible to address those issues after the close of escrow. So be mindful of that. Now, say you've already purchased a property. What happens? You find out there's unpermitted additions. Well, if it was not done by code, if it was not done by safety, and the city inspector finds out, at times they could make you tear it down. Imagine you purchase a home for $1 million and then you find out there's a 300, 400 square foot addition that was not done with permits. Guess what? The city has a legal right to make you tear that part down. Now, here's an additional problem most people don't think about: your insurance company. You have insurance on your property. Well, guess what? Your insurance company is going to insure the property on whatever portion is legally permitted. So if you have an addition that's 400 or 500 square foot done without permits, guess what? God forbid, if something happens, the insurance company can't deny that additional request because they're going to only cover whatever was legal. Now, it's important to note that the sellers and their agent are legally supposed to disclose anything they know about the property. But as I mentioned earlier, some sellers may not know about additions that were done without permits decades ago, or the seller's trying to be a little smart and slick and they're trying to take advantage of the situation, and they may not disclose that to you. So it's your responsibility and your agent's responsibility that's representing you to make sure they fully do their due diligence. Now, for the investors out there that are listening to this video, I've heard of cases like this, okay, where you rent out a portion of the property that was not done with permits. There was no certificate of occupancy. Guess what? If the tenant finds out, they could legally sue you, okay? I've heard of cases where tenants have sued the owners for non-permitted additions that they thought were permitted. Guess what? The tenants got their rent back. The owner had to completely demolish those additions and rebuild it with code. So being an investor out there, be cautious, make sure whatever you purchase is permitted, because if a tenant finds out, you're in big trouble. If you're looking to navigate these complexities, I highly recommend you hire a professional agent like ourselves who has experience with properties in LA County, where we've seen the unpermitted addition, where we know where to look to see if the property has unpermitted addition. Most importantly, to protect you as a buyer. So hire an agent who has experience and knows the local market. Well, that's a wrap with today's episode. I'm Mike with Martin Mike Properties, real estate brokers in Glendale. We cover the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles County. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. We post real estate content weekly. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and I'll see you on the next one.